Find out what's the general state of our country. What's the current situation? What must we do? Find out on The State of Affairs with Trevor Lindsay.
Welcome back. Prior to our break, I mentioned I put a proposal, or a statement or question to Sojourn about the other two candidates. Your thoughts on the OBA's candidate, Robert King, and PLP's candidate is Lindsay Simmons. Your thoughts on those two individuals?
Well, I've never met Lindsay Simmons. I've met Robert King. I think I'm sure they'll have the heart of what they're doing. But whether they understand what needs to be done might be a different story. It's not their fault. They joined the party, and they've joined the party, see it as an opportunity to make a contribution. I see nothing wrong with that. I think there's just a bigger picture out there that needs to be addressed. Is either one of them winning is going to make a difference in terms of the political system? The answer is no. What has to happen is, if the change doesn't occur, we're back to square one. They're not likely that OBA is going to beat the PLP, go from 30 seats down to, that would be such a sweep. But so this is a question of not about King and Simmons, not about OBA versus PLP. It is about, do we have the will as Bermudians, who have the power of the vote, to change the system to make it more accountable and credible and open and transparent by supporting something that says, I'm now going to elect some independent people, and are people willing to come forward to make themselves available when they are scared sometimes by their employers, who keep thinking, well, it might affect my work permit, it might be some contract I'm doing. There's this inherent crazy fear out there with Bermudians. And then these foreign companies say that, well, our policy is that we shouldn't get involved with politics, or nor should our staff get involved with politics, when 90% of your business is foreign nowadays, in terms of earnings. So what you're saying is, you are the big capitalist and the big provider and the big employer in Bermuda, because civil servants can't do it. We got this really, in a sense, most hypocritical process. You're almost gone from PLP fought very hard. I know it was during my era, against the social and the political apartheid that happened in South Africa, that happened in the United States. It was right here in Bermuda. And here we are now, we've got economic apartheid, because we're telling people that they should not fulfill the responsibility they have of making sure their country is balanced. As a country, there's a balance between politics and employment, politics and capital, people's rights that should be governed by people who really, in a sense, never been involved with industry and aspects of responsibility. Coming along now, and you put a suit on them and you put some clothes on them, and you say, okay, now you're a minister, here's a car, and you now make decisions which you were making before. We have produced the most archaic system by default. See, Cayman was different. People keep saying, what about Cayman? Cayman was different. There were a bunch of fishermen and community people on a small island, small population, not like Bermuda. Had no white people on it at all. So the black-white issue was not an issue. That's number one. So when the whites showed up, they didn't have any prerequisite of experience they had with white people. So they embraced them and said, we want to work with you. The white community in Bermuda, old white Bermuda, did not even, they set barriers. The 60-40 was a barrier to protect them. They set barriers in terms of people coming and doing business in Bermuda. So, and then they set barriers for the black community living here and making a contribution as to what they couldn't do. That's why we fought for the vote. That's why we fought for integration. That's why we fought for the right to on human rights to protection under our day-to-day affairs. So you can't compare Bermuda with Cayman. You can't even compare Bermuda with Isle of Man because that's all white. But the fact of the matter is there's this unique little island out here in the North Atlantic, as I said earlier, made up of 120 or 22 different nationalities, coming from different geographical locations and everything else. We are a mosaic melting pot. And what we should do is try to have that reflected in our actions and not just polarized into black and white, rich and poor, almost like, you feel like you want to split up in nationalities, but you really would be split up. And we're only 21, 22 square miles. So there is nowhere we can run, because when you run, you have to run to England and run to the States. Can't run to the ocean like you can in most places. You can jump up and leave and go another section. So we're stuck with each other. Or else we jump up and we leave and go live somewhere else, which is not the same as Bermuda.
How do we dismantle that race card that is used so much in
independent members and let the white step forward as much as the black step forward and wanted to run the affairs of this country here? You can have one group lording over another group. You got to get it to they become a partnership of good management and a shared responsibility so that they get to know each other. When I did the waterfront years ago, I put up a plan for the waterfront. I put up this amphitheater. I put a playground for young people. Put it right down Front Street. You know why I put it on Front Street? So people from Tuckerstown want to bring their kids down. People from Fairlands want to bring it. But people from Frizzles Hill and North Hill will want to bring their kids. The kids will go down there and play together. There's no other environment in Bermuda for them to do it. They go to separate schools practically. I mean, you look at the private schools, they're predominated by whites. You go to the public schools, predominated by black. But if they kids, if they grow up playing together and get to know each other, and they cry together, they laugh together, they love together, when they see each other 1 year, 2 years, sometimes 5 years, 10 years later, oh, you remember when we used to play down there, we did that. And memories bring a congeality. People tend to go their separate ways, but when your heart is in something, it tends to stay with you. And you tend to sort of, if you felt good about what you did together, you tend to sort of feel like you want to continue to do it together. But we don't do those things together. And so one of my big projects, if I ever saw myself for a very limited time, part of the plan would be is that we create something not back of town or up in Warwick or up the National Stadium, but right in the heart of the city itself. Front Street would begin to become the center of where our hearts meet and share. Because we don't do it in the churches. We don't do it in the sports clubs. We don't do it in our private parties. I've been to parties where I'm the only black that's at the party. I've been to parties where there are no whites at the party. So we wanted something in Hamilton. And I think when you have Harbor Nights, you see it, but it's a fleeting moment. We want to have it so that there's the spirit of Bermuda being shared all the time
continuously. Yes, sir. I want to ask you, I remember asking you during that press conference, has 32-6 been a benefit or a disadvantage? And one of the statements in that same, on my network, someone mentioned that Sojourn, in which I do know, when you called a snap election, and you had 33-7.
That's right.
You had a majority, but what was different then to now in your words?
You had even though I won, and I kept when I won 4 elections, I never stopped being in touch with the people. I insisted my people serve the people, and when they didn't, I fired them. We were doing things. We were building all sorts of projects. We were making things happen. You know, East Broadway, people tend to forget, was all sorts of objections to East Broadway.
Yeah.
You know, when we put the bus depot up at Ford up there in Prospect, we put it up there and people, oh, it's not a bad idea. It made good use of it and so forth. We built the prisons up there. When we finished off Bermuda College, when we did Cedar Bridge, you know, when we did housing across the island, Ducks Puddle down at Baylor's Bay, and we did a big project up Southampton by the ferry terminal up there in Southampton. And we built, I mean, all along Curvin Avenue and all those houses up there that now you go up there and you go down to Middletown, you see all these prefab houses. We put them in there because we said we can't have the rest of Bermuda having nice houses, and then so we cleaned up all that. My philosophy is very simple. Every house should have a bathroom. And if the house doesn't have a bathroom, let's fund the bathroom. And then let's encourage people to fix their house up. After all, I was responsible. When in my early days, 40% of the homes on the island. So I understood what the value of a house was. You can't ask a kid to learn if they got to sit in the living room with their parents watching TV while they're trying to read their lessons. They need a bedroom to go. So I said, everything has at least 2 to 3 bedrooms attached to it. And that's what we did. And now they're talking about building 5 houses down in St. David's. When there's such a shortage, everybody admits there's a massive shortage of housing. We've got to come up with some new methods of doing housing, and whether it's in St. David's or whether it's in other parts of the island, because you can have industry and you can have children learning if they're now having to stay home with their parents and their grandparents in the same house, all congested in. There are people, I mean, when I came to office, there were people living in cars, living down the pond, living in tunnels and so forth. And I said, all that's got to stop. And that's why we got the Salvation Army involved with things and so forth. And we stopped the fires being burned down there.
And dump.
There are things you can do that you stop happening, and there are things you can do that you make happen. But you got to have the will and the sense about the people. And if you don't love the people, how can you serve the people? And I think the word love has been taken out of the formula. I love Bermuda. I love its people. I wouldn't be here at my age. I could be very comfortable sailing on a ship somewhere doing something else. But I love this country, and nothing's more important to me than Bermuda, you know. And so I'm here to serve until the day I die, and that's just the way it is.
We spoke about your age, Sir John.
Yeah.
Would your age have any disadvantages if you are successful in this venture?
If you knew you were going to die tomorrow, what would you do? You make the most of the day.
Yes, sir. Wow. Oh, I like that.
Well, I'm not sure when I'm going to die.
Yes, sir.
But
Yes, sir.
I will try to make the most of what the time I have today and the time I have tomorrow. It's never the time that you have, is what you do with what you need to get done, what you need to get done. And when the time comes you can't do it anymore, I hope I've trained some people then to continue.
If I don't know what Monday's going to bring.
And by the way, I might not be the leader of this party. And
Sir.
if you get a number of people that come along, and I can see where there's somebody and I can sit in the background and help to make it happen, I'm not saying I have to be the leader.
Right.
I'm an agent of change that says we want a better Bermuda. It doesn't say that we want a join Swan.
What would an independent member do if successful in this C10 election? You have 30 PLP, 5 OBA, and a 1 independent. What?
Well, if it's just a 1 independent member, you don't carry much weight. I mean, you can speak. I would have to speak and so forth, but you wouldn't carry much weight. It has to be where you have you can form a cabinet. You get enough members in it. We're taking a leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Or people's brain power to understand what needs to get done, and then that they will participate. It really is a question of determination that this is what we want. it's not where you're going to sort of, I can't tell you what the result's going to be. My hope is that there are enough people from Somerset and Georgia say, and you don't need a lot, 30 people out of 50,000 Bermudians. You don't need a lot of people, 30, 38, 36 people. It's not a lot of. If you could get that and, you can pull out of that some people, but the philosophy and the principles would change enough to make it relevant. And that's the thing, is finding a way to give relevance to what Bermuda needs to get done.
Lastly, and I'm glad you said that, because someone said that with you and Mark being FDM, possibly stepping, or you put the invite for possible persons to consider being an independent candidate. So it would look like 36 PLP, 36 OBA, 36 FDM, and 36 independent. That would be in your words, what?
But you can't. I mean, the law.
I'm saying all is going to win, but
the law
have there's 4 different entities putting together 36 candidates.
Well, if everybody puts together up, and let's say that you end up with X number in each one of them, your hope is that you could find enough people in each one of them that will want to sort of form an independent coalition. Although you're elected by your party, or the party itself says, yeah, we want to participate as an independent member. You cannot go in there as a party, because if you go in as a party, you're then having to follow the party line. So you have to go in as an independent member, and a lot of mechanics have to be worked out. I mean, until you get the results, you don't know what's going to be.
Right.
I don't have all the answers.
Right.
I don't think we have to work it out so that it works best for Bermuda. But what it's going to be, as I said, this is a leap of faith. But not to take that leap of faith means the fact that you keep what you've got. That's the issue. And it's not about party politics. It's about Bermuda's politics and how it fits in with what Bermuda really represents.
So, John, I want to thank you for, yet again, you bring the wealth of knowledge. Bermuda loves you. Not all, because, not everybody's going to agree with your decision.
Absolutely not. I don't expect them to, but God, if they did, that would be a miracle. And, miracles are not made that easily.
Yes, sir. But I want to thank you for joining us. We want to thank our viewers for supporting and watching this network. Stay tuned. We'll be back. And thank you for joining us on State of Affairs.
Thank you. Great. Well done. You've done a great job in bringing the issues and the subjects of relevance to the Bermuda public, and I commend you for it. Thank you very much.
Sir.
Thanks for watching The State of Affairs with Trevor Lindsay. See you next time.